Hello, my name's Jake, and today I'm going to be talking to you about my group's performance of Charlene James's Brexit short piece Go Home. Just a quick little disclaimer before we begin. Due to unforeseen circumstances, I was unfortunately unable to attend my assessment performance and therefore can't reflect on any audience reactions. However, I will instead be reflecting on what went well leading to the assessment during rehearsals and what I would have done should I have been able to attend. So, without further ado, let's begin. Before we go into talking about my techniques and the processes my group went through, I'd like to give you a quick catch up on what Go Home is. So, Go Home is a political piece written by Charlene James as part of a series of Brexit shorts for The Guardian, where it was a collaboration of many different writers tackling different issues and opinions that reflected the whole of society regarding the topic. Specifically, Go Home tells the story of Reese and the unfortunate stress that Brexit had on his relationship with his current girlfriend due to the fact that they both voted on opposite sides in terms of staying or leaving via Brexit. This still remains very relevant even now as I'm looking back on the performance. Firstly, due to the fact that when it was written, Brexit was still happening, which made all the Brexit shorts very relatable and allowed people to understand differing opinions. But also, in terms of Go Home specifically, even now, after the vote has happened and Brexit has occurred, the piece itself tackles the impact that politics has on relationships. So whether you're talking, Labour, Conservative, Brexit, no Brexit, these opinions can vastly impact very, very close relationships. And I think for my group specifically, we thought it was so important to kind of reflect on that and focus on how unfortunate it is that these relationships become impacted purely from differing political beliefs. So that's the general synopsis on Go Home. One of the first big techniques I think our piece really benefited from was Laban's efforts. Laban's efforts was created by a gentleman called Rudolf Laban, and he was interested in studying the language of movement, and he was very focused on dance, but his work reflects in all types of performances in today's society. And he found that there were essentially four specific areas, and you call them factors as well. These factors were space, weight, time, and flow. And each factor would split into what you could call two polarities. So you'd have, for instance, weight. One type of weight would be strong, and the opposite of that would be light. Time, you could talk about time being sustained or time passing quickly and more sudden. For our intents and purposes, we used actions to reflect these factors, and those actions were pressing, flicking, gliding, and punching. These were all used in our introductory sequence, which we'd put with the song Should I Stay or Should I Go Now by The Clash. We felt that the song itself opted for the opportunity to have both a sustained moment and a sudden quick moment, allowing to display and convey the passing of time. Due to this, time was very much our main focus in terms of the efforts. We used our actions and we essentially sped them up when the chorus came in each time for The Clash. And this allowed us to really work together as a group and replicate what would be a busy cafe that Reese begins in. I felt like it was really effective, and I'd just like to give you a quick example of what we did in one of our earlier rehearsals while we were exploring this idea. Ooh. So that was a video from one of our earlier rehearsals exploring Laban's efforts and combining that with the song into our introductory sequence. Um, More or less, that segment remained the same. However, after that rehearsal and looking back on the footage, we did decide to cut the song down to just the second verse and the second chorus. So we still had a slow moment, and we still had the fast, busy chorus, but it was, I suppose, a lot easier and more kind of not fulfilling, but engaging to the audience while they were watching. They didn't get bored because it was a shorter segment. And I felt like that was a lot more effective in kind of conveying the busy nature of the cafe as well. We also used spacing on the stage to kind of, throughout the performance, to replicate and imitate vastness. And so whenever we were filling the stage and we were more spread out, it felt a lot busier and more chaotic. And when we were closer in together and we had lights focused in one corner, it felt, for example, in Reese's monologue when he talks about hanging out with his and his girlfriend's friends, those moments felt a lot more calm and minimal. And I felt like that was really reflective as well, working in an ensemble and able to create that with just 4 people. Speaking of ensembles, I wanted to discuss quickly one of the choices we made, which stood out from the rest of the groups while looking back at each other's work. And that was essentially keeping the monologue as a monologue. Charlene James had obviously written Go Home as a monologue and had a vision with her piece. And as a group, we really wanted to respect that. And we felt like if we were to divvy up lines and not keep it as a monologue and turn it into a different performance, we felt like that could disjoint, become confusing, and also really take away from the meaning of the piece. So we still wanted to get across the same story. And as such, we kept it as a monologue, and I played Reese while being supported by the rest of the ensemble, who were doing physical theatre in order to create different types of environments. So prior to the prior slide, the example was the cafe scene, the busy cafe scene. We also had moments where the ensemble would be walking around, and in almost a frantic assembly-esque way, they'd be bouncing off of each other's movements. And because we'd have all these busy, engaging things going on, we really wanted to keep that movement quiet and give the audience the ability to kind of still hear Reese but be able to take in the rest of what's going on the stage. The ensemble also used shadows, props, and physical movements to their advantage as well towards the end of the piece, in which they imitated and conveyed a train. And that was to make being at a train station more believable, as the cafe was in a train station and Reese was meeting his girlfriend off the train. That was really good when it was paired with the sound as well of the train coming by. It really did feel like, due to the lighting as well and the shadows, that you could possibly trick yourself into believing that you were there and you were kind of fully immersed in the experience. That I felt like overall, the piece itself got every point and message we wanted across. I felt like it was very engaging, and as a group we were very, very proud of the work we'd put together. So finally, thank you very much for listening. There were some bits that I possibly would like to change about the performance when reflecting on it, such as possibly being more open to divvying out the lines and changing the piece out of a monologue into a performance. I think it could have been very interesting to explore. However, I'm not upset with the outcome of our piece, and I do feel like we really did get the message across that we wanted, and it's a shame I couldn't perform it. So thank you for coming. Cheers.